and we've got it for you.
Gary looks at life inside our space station.
This is my favorite part of the space station. It's your own personal environment.
Computer-aided design comes to the shoe industry. And the car with the engine made of clay. Good evening and welcome once again to Beyond Tomorrow. Also tonight, a robot detects breast tumors and a substance that cleans up oil slicks from our coastline. But right now, Richard dives in his personal submarine.
Okay, turning thrusters off. Hi, if you love the undersea world but aren't crazy about getting your feet wet in cold water, have I got a vehicle for you. Okay, Bruce, I'm ready to come up.
Make sure that the flooding valves are all closed.
Okay, they're closed.
Still comfortable, are you?
That's an affirmative.
And when you're ready, slowly fill the forward tank and the aft tank. And then on your way up, just give that center tank some air on the way up.
I'm surfacing.
Okay, looking good.
In the past, submarines have been restricted to organizations like the military and research organizations because of their high cost. Well, now for about the same cost as a new car, this sub, the Sea Urchin, is available to the individual. Okay, I'm on the surface, a little more air.
Put the thrusters in the forward position, then you can maneuver yourself over here to the dock.
International Hardsuits Incorporated in Vancouver, Canada, will have the Sea Urchin on the market early next year. And although it's a lot of fun to drive in a test tank, it's by no means a toy. The sub is rated to a depth of 300 feet. External oxygen cylinders and onboard carbon dioxide scrubber make it the pilot's life support system for up to 72 hours. It was quite easy for me to learn the fundamentals in that test tank. Let's see how I go out in the open ocean. The beautiful fjords around Jervis Inlet, 50 miles north of Vancouver, shelter some of the clearest waters in Canada. What better place to put the Sea Urchin through its paces?
Okay, all ready to go?
Yep, check.
Okay, here we go.
The Sea Urchin has 3 buoyancy chambers, fore, center, and aft. It is ballasted to neutral buoyancy on the surface, so only small changes need to be made to dive or ascend.
Slightly forward and then back to neutral.
With all systems checked, I flooded the chambers.
When you're ready, also flood the center valve tank.
At around $35,000, the submarine could be suitable for universities and research institutions, or even survey companies which could never afford larger models.
30 feet, okay. And your depth now. Okay, good, 40 feet. You should be able to see something pretty quick.
The sub is fitted with pincers which can be used to collect objects from the ocean floor.
Okay, just read off your feet as you...
There isn't much room to move, although the large fisheye domes at front and on top make the sub feel more spacious. The electric thrusters are directed by twisting an axle running through the hull. There are 3 speeds in forward and 2 in reverse, producing a maximum of 1.7 knots.
Okay, that's good. If you start to descend any quicker, let me know and we'll put a little air into the ballast tanks.
Taking in the scenery, it's easy to forget you're in a life support system.
2, hold still 12.5.
Oxygen and carbon dioxide levels must be monitored, as well as cabin pressure and power supply.
Yep, I'm looking at a large cylindrical object. It's about, well, it's hard to say, it's about 6 feet in diameter and probably about 8 feet in length.
This was a steam tug that sank in 1917, so you're looking at the boiler now.
Yeah, well,
The sea urchin will be an ideal vehicle for marine researchers who need comfort, depth, and long air times without the worry of decompression.
Okay, that means that your ballast tanks are closed and you're ready to fill with air. Okay, when you're ready, I want you to give a little bit burst of air in your forward and aft tanks.
Okay, I'm ascending right now. I'm at 50 feet.
Okay, let's maintain an ascent rate and then that you're happy with, and then when you're, if you increase on that, I want you to start flooding those tanks slightly.
I've done a lot of scuba diving, but this was a unique experience. An experience that will soon be available to many others.
This woman has a right to appear frightened. The results of her mammogram will indicate whether she is a victim of breast cancer. And statistics aren't encouraging. Breast cancer is the most common malignant cancer affecting women in the United States and is the second leading cause of cancer deaths after lung cancer. Credit women like Shirley Temple Black, Betty Ford, and Nancy Reagan for sharing with the public a most private personal hell that for them resulted in the loss of a breast, but not a life. Because of their candor, more women than ever before are aware that early detection and regular breast checks can make a difference. You know, it wasn't long ago that American women tended to, well, put off their self-examination and leave it up to the gynecologist in the annual visit to let them know everything was safe and sound in this case, or perhaps if something was amiss. Well, if a doctor does detect a lump in your breast, chances are it's had a chance to grow in size. That's why there are other procedures and methods available to doctors to detect lumps before they've gotten out of hand. As we showed you at the beginning, a mammogram is one option. It's not the most pleasant experience, but it does provide a detailed x-ray that could save a life. It will show whether a lump in the breast is benign or malignant, and if it is malignant, just how far the cancer has advanced. Ultrasound is another avenue available to doctors. This process, most commonly associated with prenatal examinations, can pick up the waves from your body and, using a computer, print out an accurate picture without radiation. Now, what the doctor is showing me is that in this particular breast, he's been able to detect a cancerous lump about 8 millimeters to 1 centimeter in size. And presently, the mammogram is the most effective way to determine cancer at an early stage. But with the number of breast cancer cases all over the world increasing, researchers are constantly looking for new ways to examine women quicker and more effectively. And now, a doctor in Japan seems to feel he's got an answer. It's a robot known as the Waseda Automatic Palpitation Robot 4 Refined, also known as WAPRO 4R. It was developed by Professor Ikiro Kato at Japan's Waseda University after doctors at Japan's Cancer Institute heard about his work in developing robotic hands. Well, they wanted him to develop a robot capable of performing breast examinations. Now, although Japan has a much lower incidence of breast cancer than in the United States, it is increasing. And the Japanese medical community is worried that eventually they won't have enough qualified doctors to carry out breast examinations. Would you say that this is more effective than a doctor's examination, manual exam, or mammogram or ultrasound?
I feel, yes, this will be a very big help to a lot of the doctors because an expert doctor can detect cancer that is 5 millimeters. By using this robot, we can detect cancer that is 5 millimeters also. And on top of this, it comes out in a color graph, which is much easier to see and understand.
Well, the robot will see me now. All right. I thought for the sake of the story, I would let you know how this compares to a visit to the doctor's office. And, well, there's one thing that's immediately noticeable. Unlike the use of 5 fingers, we have 4 sensors. And what will happen is these 4 sensors will pass over my breast 30 times. and then the information is fed down into a computer, and then it's color-coded, and it'll let the doctor know immediately if anything is wrong. This is just as effective as the human touch. With more and more Japanese breast cancer cases being reported, Wapro 4R may pave the way to mass screenings and the early detection of lumps. And that can only be good news for women everywhere, especially if all of us take a cue from Professor Kato's robot and begin regular self-examinations.
After the break, what would life be like aboard a space station? And from cobblers to computers. Coming up next on Beyond Tomorrow, a preview of the new look in shoe manufacturing.
The United States began its space station program. Skylab, which was literally a section of a Saturn V rocket, would be visited by 3 groups of 3 astronauts who would spend a total of 173 days in space. The Skylab program, which ended in the late 70s, became our space station prototype. To say that Skylab's living conditions were crude is an understatement. Quarters were cramped, and creature comforts, for all practical purposes, were non-existent. It was these early days of living and working in space that would give our engineers the information necessary to design and build a long-term environment conducive to the well-being and productivity of its inhabitants. Nicholas Shields is a human factors engineer with the Boeing space program. Working with NASA and astronauts who have lived in space, he is charged with helping to plan the most effective space station environment.
During the 3-man missions that were flown aboard Skylab, of course, a great deal was learned about living and working in space in microgravity. One of them, restraints. Humans just don't perform very well if they're allowed to float freely through an environment like this. So we provide restraints in the 2nd generation space station. One of the lessons we also learned was that the crew appreciates colors and textures a little bit more vivid than those that we have in here right now. So a great deal of attention is being focused on architectural considerations, colors, layout of the 2nd space station.
On September 29th, the U.S. finally and successfully returned to space after a 2.5-year delay. The success of the shuttle program is imperative if America is to achieve its next goal in space, which is the construction and habitation of the 2nd generation space station. This mammoth project is slated for completion in 1996.
All the components of the space station will be delivered by what NASA calls the workhorse of space, the shuttle. The project will involve a multitude of private American participants and many foreign nations.
To give you an idea of the tremendous size and scope of this project, we'll use these models, which are 1/50th of actual size. The shuttle will approach and dock the space station somewhat like this, attaching itself to one of these 2 nodes. Phase 1 of the space station will include this truss structure, which is about 500 feet in length. Attached to that will be the U.S. portion of the space station. That will include a laboratory element and a habitat element. They'll be connected at either end with these 4 nodes. The elements in the back here will be supplied by European and Japanese space programs, and Canada is very much involved as well.
This project is not just on the drawing board, but is an actual development at the Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. At this end of the laboratory element, animal experimentation will be taking place. This is a centrifuge, and animals will be placed in these containers. The gravity inside of here can be adjusted from 0 to 1.5 Gs. It's important for scientists to understand how much gravity is required to maintain good muscle tone and bone structure on prolonged space missions. This is the electronic workstation. Let's say, for example, I'm called upon to make a repair on a circuit board. All my activity can be monitored on Earth by this television camera. So therefore, if I needed a certain amount of information or instruction, all the expertise at NASA is available to me instantaneously. Very often on the space station, mundane maintenance will have to be done. That'll be done here in the maintenance workstation. Now, the reason it's all enclosed is when you're working with small items such as screws, nuts, and bolts, you don't want them floating around the space station. A few other things to point out to you. All of the racks, everything you see, can be folded out from the wall and folded back. Even the rails fold back against the wall. That way, you maintain the 84-inch aisles as much as possible. Passageway from one element to another is accomplished through the nodes. Nodes can be used for storage, large-size experiments, and in the event of an emergency, all these elements can be sealed up and a crew can actually survive in here. This is the habitat portion of the space station. It is here that the crew will live. A couple of things to understand about space. There is no up or down, top or bottom, if you will, but as human beings, that's the way we perceive our environment. So those elements have been designed in. For instance, the lighting is always at the top. All the compartments for storage or electronics are installed vertically. The floor is dark in color, and the ceiling is light. This is the galley. You come in here, you choose the food you want, bring up your own little personal tray table, and you're ready to go. You might notice that there's portholes installed here. Studies have shown that it's very important for astronauts to be able to look out and see the horizon. Being in space, especially in a microgravity situation for long periods of time, can have very odd effects on your body. Therefore, staying in shape and doing exercise is imperative. Welcome home. This is my favorite part of the space station. It's your own personal environment. And each astronaut will be able to pick his or her favorite colors to make themselves feel comfortable. The astronaut will be able to listen to their favorite music, watch TV. They can even make a personal call home, work on a word processor, and when they're really tired and it's time to get a little sleep, they just unzip their personal sleep sack, get in. Of course, you have to put your head in the elastic band so your head is not floating while you're trying to rest, and you're ready for a good night's suspension. To complete phase 1 of the space station will cost between $14 and $16 billion. Floating in orbit 220 nautical miles above the surface of the Earth, it will explore and develop the unknown. And it will provide a launch platform for deeper space exploration, all of which space engineers firmly believe will benefit our planet.
This is the house key. No, this isn't the house key. Let's see. No, this is the locker key. There are a lot of keys here. Ever since that we started locking our valuables in and other people out, we've been carrying keys around. Now, keys aren't the most reliable security system these days. They can be lost or stolen or duplicated, and even good locks can be picked. Well, recently, we've been finding ways to do without keys, and this door represents the latest step in that technology. It's fitted with a voice key. Now, that's this module. It's been programmed to recognize my voice and then open the door on command. It took just about 20 seconds to enter my password. The microprocessors analyze my speech and then, well, memorize certain characteristics. Now, when I say the magic words, voice key will match what it hears against its records. Now, here goes. All I've got to do is key in my ID number so it knows what to expect. Beyond tomorrow. Anybody home? Well, no burglars at least. The voice key can recognize up to 200 different people. Now, each time someone uses it, the hardware updates their profile, so it actually fine-tunes as it goes along. Speaking of fine-tunes...
Hi, how you doing?
What are you whistling there?
How was your day?
Good. Yours?
Ever been to Cincinnati? I'll start dinner.
Oh, now that's the kind of guy I like. You know, any words could be programmed in. So far, the technology has been restricted to companies who need to secure sections of their office space, like drug companies or computer operators. But as the price comes down, we can expect to see voice key systems in wider use, and one day you may actually have to tell your car who you are before it lets you drive away. One more time, because I'm hungry, and I want to eat before, well, actually, beyond tomorrow. Is dinner ready yet?
You see my car keys? I want to get some more lettuce.
Oh, you're hopeless.
Hey, don't pick on me. You know, I worked all day, too.
know, except for style, which of course comes and goes, a shoe has remained the same for centuries. The look changes, but for the most part, a shoe is a shoe. How that shoe is made, however, has changed dramatically. Here in the south of France, where the world's #1 shoe manufacturer is located, Charles Jourdan, technology is taking hold. Computers now do what shoe designers before had to do on paper, converting an idea to an image. The system here at Charles Jourdan's manufacturing facility in Romans is a CAD-CAM, computer-aided design, computer-aided manufacturing. And while CAD-CAMs are being used for other purposes, their use in the shoe manufacturing business is new. For this highly advanced computer, the idea for a shoe, whether it was style or something as simple as color, had to be done with the complete production of a prototype shoe like this one. Now the basic style and shape of a shoe can be viewed in 3D through this computer and changed if so desired. And the color, well, that's as simple as a flick of the button. If, as in this case, red is preferred over yellow, the designer can check his choice by commanding the computer to fill in the shoe, done in a matter of seconds. When the designer has his idea materialized on the screen, it can then be presented to the commercial side and the decision makers.
With the system, we are going to be much more efficient in fashion, much more advanced, and we can respond to the request of the market much quicker.
The CAD-CAM also gives Charles Jourdan a complete data library. All aspects of a shoe that's been designed on the computer, including heel, materials, and color, are all logged in the system's memory. Designers say the same shoe is never really in style after it dies out, but certain characteristics can be revived, and that's where the computer's library is helpful. When an image is created on the CAD-CAM, it ultimately ends up here on the manufacturing floor. Charles Jourdan produces over 400,000 pair of shoes a year, with the United States accounting for 20% of their business. Eventually, when the design for a shoe has been approved in graphic form, the punch of a button will trigger a computer-aided machine to cut the shoe pattern. Right now, Charles Jourdan utilizes this machine, a laser system, to do the job. Someday, a computer will command the precision of these lasers. But with all the high tech, man still plays a great role in the production of Charles Jourdan shoes, from the sewing of leather to the model that shows off the latest fashion. Maintaining the #1 spot in shoe manufacturing is not an easy job. Shoe styles change almost as quickly as this. Keeping up with what the world wants and remaining competitive by combining technology and good old-fashioned craftsmanship is Charles Jourdan's formula for the future. When we return, the cold facts of hypothermia research.
My core temperature is dropping right now. If it drops significantly more, I could be in risk of dying. When an Air Florida jetliner crashed into Washington's icy Potomac River in 1982, shortly after takeoff, many victims are believed to have perished not from the impact, but from the cold. Hypothermia, or cooling of the body's core temperature around the heart, lungs, and brain, can result in unconsciousness or heart failure. Certainly you don't have to be in a tragic airplane crash to become a victim of hypothermia. In fact, 1/4 of all boating deaths in North America are hypothermia related. Today, we're in the beautiful waterways of Victoria, Canada. Even though it's sunny out, the air temperature is in the mid-40s, and the water temperature, low 40s. Certainly cold enough for me to become hypothermic if I were unlucky enough to fall in the water. Researchers at the University of Victoria have been studying hypothermia and its prevention for several years. Under controlled conditions, they have subjected volunteers to mild hypothermia. Today, it's my turn. Robert Dowens is fitting me with a heart monitor before I take a plunge in a simulated boating accident. Experiments have shown that the body's core temperature needs only to drop about 2 degrees for hypothermia to begin. Different body weights cool at different rates. But once the vital organ temperature starts to drop, the process is relentless.
Right now, I'm beginning to shiver. That's because I'm cold. This is the body's first line of defense against hypothermia. Physiologically, that's muscle tissues rubbing against each other to create heat. Let's see how cold I get in the water. Being immersed in water, I'm losing body heat 25 to 30 times faster than I would be on dry land. Blood flow to non-vital areas, like my outer extremities, like my hands and feet, are being restricted so that my core temperature can remain normal. My core temperature is dropping right now. If it drops significantly more, I could be in risk of dying.
Researchers have pinpointed the high heat loss areas of the body. This infrared picture shows the sides of the chest cavity losing heat. Also the groin area where large blood and lymph vessels are located near the surface. The head and neck, too, are major losers of heat.
The University of Victoria has developed a jacket which can triple your survival time in water. This simple-looking jacket is already a flotation device, but it converts into a wetsuit.
The flap, which is secured in the back of the jacket, pulls down and is wrapped around the thighs and groin to prevent heat loss. The seal is watertight. A bright-colored hood provides insulation as well as a high visual profile. The usual reaction in icy water is to tread water or attempt to swim to land. But this could be one of the fastest ways of killing yourself. It's wasted energy that only speeds up heat loss. By assuming the help position, crossing your arms and legs, you minimize cooling and can survive longer. Of course, hypothermia doesn't only strike in water. It can be just as deadly on land. A lost or unprepared hiker caught in changing weather conditions can soon become a victim. Even though a hiker can be comforted with blankets by rescuers, his core temperature can continue to drop until he receives hospital treatment.
Hospital treatment is well developed now. Most hospitals are ready to treat this difficult condition of hypothermia. The real need in the future is first aid treatment. Without that, many more people will die on the way to hospital or in hospital.
Hi, Professor Hayward.
Hi. How are you doing? Pretty cold?
I'm a little wet, a little chilly, yeah.
Hey, let's get some heat into you.
Ah, great.
The answer is the heat treat, a small inhalator that allows warm steam to enter the body through the respiratory system, which quickly heats the core. The steam is produced by a portable gas kettle, and the temperature of the steam is regulated by a valve which mixes in cold air.
Richard, this is warm, water-saturated air that'll give you heat into your lungs.
Okay.
Just hold that there and keep breathing normally. Richard, this is giving you warmth where you need it, inside your chest. Starting to come up to temperature now.
It's a simple device, but one which has already saved lives.
You'll feel better soon.
Despite television and videos, the movie industry is still doing as well as ever. There must be something about going to the movies that you just can't get from television. Apart from popcorn and a big sound system, there's also the thrill of the wide screen. That feeling of being in the action because the action is all around you. Inventors have been trying to get that wide screen feeling into the living room with various television projection systems. Usually they involve a machine which uses 3 different picture tubes and special lenses to beam the picture onto a screen with the necessary brightness. The quality's okay, but they've been too expensive for domestic use. Now, a Kansas City company has come up with Expandiview, a system designed for the home. It uses just one lens that clips onto the TV, as you can see here. I'm going to pop this cassette into the VCR, and I'm going to get a second opinion. The image is projected onto an aluminum screen, which has been treated to reflect up to 20 times as much light as an ordinary white surface. Because the lens turns the picture upside down, you'll need an inverter switch added to your TV. Or you can buy a specially converted model with the system. We can't say the picture quality is great, but it isn't bad. And in a darkened room with some popcorn and a hot dog, you'll probably agree that bigger can be better. What do you think? I'll second that.
Thousands of years, clay, the first processed ceramic, has been the primary raw material used in pottery, brick, and tile. So it's no wonder when I mention ceramics, most people would think of these rather unsophisticated products. However, because of new technology, ceramics are now being applied in situations never thought possible before. For instance, the engine in this car is made out of ceramics.
Research into the use of ceramics is going on throughout the world, which is understandable considering the many advantages of this material. Ceramic has enormous high temperature strength, low porosity, which is why clay pots don't leak, resistance to abrasion, and most important, chemical stability. Recently, the use of ceramic material allowed for a major breakthrough in the field of superconductors, the science of making resistance-free electrical conductors, and one of the world's major growth industries. Currently, Japan and the United States are the world leaders in materials research. In fact, Japan put ceramics at the top of the list of next-generation industries, launching a 10-year, $120 million program of ceramics research. Nowhere is the commitment more evident than in the highly competitive auto industry.
The internal combustion engine has been improved for over a century, which has allowed for tremendous reliability and performance. And most agree the engine will be around for a while. However, no improvement can exceed the boundaries of the materials used to construct the engine. That's why automakers are so excited about ceramics, whose characteristics far exceed that of metals.
We believe the future of the ceramics engine, because if we use the ceramics engine, we will have the very nice benefit.
So in other words, you believe this will increase performance and economy by 30%?
Yes.
This is a standard 4-cylinder engine used on so many Isuzu products today. Though quite reliable, even the engineers will tell you it's a rather complicated piece of machinery, and it weighs over 350 pounds. The components here in the front are the cooling system required on an internal combustion engine. As we step over here to the ceramic lightweight engine, weighing just over 300 pounds, we'll point out some of the different areas where ceramics are now being used. We have the pistons, the piston rings, the liner, the exhaust valves, and even the camshaft. Insulating the combustion chamber with ceramic not only alleviates completely the need for a cooling system, but it allows for heat energy recovery as well, utilizing this turbine. The fan in the turbine is made out of ceramic as well. This heat energy is converted into electric power with this super high-speed generator and drives the motor coupled to the crankshaft. This is the prototype of a ceramic 6-cylinder engine that Isuzu hopes to have in some of their models by 1995. You can see the crisp, clean design, absolutely no need for a cooling system, and the weight, 220 pounds. Yet it's capable of 160 horsepower.
It's about 2 hours from the test track at Isuzu to the heart of Tokyo's financial district. Here you will find the Ryodo Raku Research Institute, which manufactures and distributes a new medical treatment device developed by Dr. Sakimura. Dr. Sakimura's invention also uses modern ceramic technology.
For years, the medical profession has prescribed heat to soothe aches and pains. But carrying a heating pad or hot water bottle around with you is not very convenient. Dr. Sakimura's supporters use ceramics to trap the body's heat and return it to the skin. Domo. This is an envelope containing ceramic material in powder form. They were able to develop a process where they take the ceramic and bake it onto a piece of cloth. In this case, you can see it's in the form of these little ceramic discs. Now, these discs absorb and retain the heat emitted from the body. Now, by placing this reflective cloth on top of it, that temperature is forced back through the skin. By the way, the ceramic increases the temperature by 4 degrees. You don't have to be Japanese to know about pain. Millions of Americans suffer with chronic back pain. Sometimes it's debilitating. Then there's the pain of arthritis and rheumatism. And let's not forget that group of people that acquire those small injuries simply because we didn't properly prepare for an activity. There are 5 devices currently available, and I'm wearing all of them. That's one of the benefits. You can wear them under your clothes, and no one knows you have them on. There is the device for your shoulder, which I know a lot of pitchers are looking at right now and feeling very envious about. Certainly a wrist support. There is a support for your elbow, another for your knee. And then this device, worn very low on the hips. It not only provides heat to the lower back, but support as well. Now, the doctors that created these devices are very quick to point out that they are only therapeutic aids and should only be used with the advice of your physician. Future applications for ceramics seem limitless. Not only will it continue to be developed and used in high-tech areas, but it also will continue to be a major contributor to items we use and enjoy every day.
Next on Beyond Tomorrow, an operation which makes sterile women fertile again, and a new pollution solution. In many Western countries, women are choosing to have fewer children or none at all. A common form of contraception in the past has been surgical sterilization. Well, the major disadvantage of this is that up until recently, it's been irreversible. But in West Germany, where the government wants to boost the country's declining birth rate, 2 surgeons have perfected a technique of sterilization reversal where success is almost guaranteed. Doris Simone is 30. She's already had children and had her fallopian tubes cut and tied some years ago. She has since divorced and remarried and wants another child. A common story behind many women seeking sterilization reversal. At Frankfurt University Hospital, Doctors Rudolf Baumann and Matthias Wolk are preparing Simone for a new technique that will literally glue back together her fallopian tubes so she can conceive again. The adhesive being used is called fibrin glue. At $100 a milliliter, fibrin is an expensive treatment. Before it can be applied, the doctors must establish whether or not Doris's tubes are in a satisfactory condition for the treatment. For this, they use a laparoscope. It scans her fallopian tubes, allowing the doctors to see firsthand if the severed tubes can be glued back together. Any sterilization reversal operation is extremely delicate, and there is a high failure rate. During a fallopian tube sterilization, the surgeon ties each tube and clips the tissue. Sometimes surgeons cut the tube in several places and occasionally even burn it electrically, a process that makes reversal almost impossible. To reverse sterilization, the cut ends need to be clipped and the new ends rejoined, usually with several sutures. As a result of their laparoscopic examination, the surgeons decide that Doris's severed tubes can be glued together. Fibrin glue is made from the proteins found in the human body, thiamine and fibrogen. Doctors Wolk and Baumann use the adhesive because of its biological properties. It does not prompt antibody reaction within the patient. The glue has 2 major components that are administered through a parallel syringe, developed specifically for the fibrin's application. Once the fallopian tubes are prepared for adhesion, they're simply brought together with 1 suture and the glue does the rest. The glue eventually dissolves into the body. Doctors Wolk and Baumann recommend that women attempt to become pregnant at the first ovulation following surgery. For women 20 years of age, the success rate so far has been 100%. That rate reduces to 30% for women more than 30 years of age. Both statistics compare favorably with conventional sterilization reversal using sutures. Simone conceived within 2 months of her sterilization reversal.
Last year, over 3,000 oil spills were reported in the U.S. alone. It's likely there were others that didn't make headlines, but of those that did, the Ohio River spill best illustrated the inadequacies of present-day cleanup procedures. Cleaning up an oil spill involves a recovery team stretching fences or booms across the water to contain the slick. Vacuums and skimmers are then used like a giant mop to remove the oil.
Yet, by the time the crews are able to erect the boom and begin the cleanup process, an oil slick can spread for hours. And in addition, vacuums and skimmers like this often suck up more water than they do oil. The same substance that puts the chew in chewing gum may mean more effective containment, a quicker cleanup, and may spell millions of dollars in reduction in cleanup costs.
Developed by General Technology Applications, the substance is known as Elastol, a sticky synthetic rubber that transforms oil slicks into syrupy goo that holds together and speeds recovery. This is a mixture of diesel oil and water, but this oil has not been treated with the Elastol. Let me shake it up and create the same kinds of conditions you might find in a rough ocean. And you'll see that most of the oil will rise to the top, yet a number of oil particles remain and will continue to contaminate the water. I love these lab experiments. Let me show you another jar of diesel oil and water, but this oil has been treated with the Elastol. I'll create the same kind of conditions. What a difference. What makes the Elastol process a radical new step in oil spill cleanup is its use of cryogenics. Flash freezing turns the chew and chewing gum into a new ultra-high molecular weight polymer. At the moment, the polyisobutylene, or PIB, is very rubbery. Can't do much with it. But now I'm going to place it in liquid nitrogen at a temperature of minus 321 degrees Fahrenheit. The PIB has now been freeze-dried. Rubber turns brittle and can be ground to the consistency of fine sugar. Once the frozen mixture has been ground into a powder, it's coated with tricalcium phosphate, an additive used in cereal, and this prevents sticking. Animal fat is then added so the Elastol will float, and the treated oil is ready for recovery when it appears string-like when lifted from the surface. Systems can then recover the oil with little or no water pickup. In most cases, the oil can be recovered in about a half an hour. The application of heat tends to speed things along, and wind, wave, and current action also shorten the time required. Generally, Elastol can be applied using any equipment designed for dispensing powders, such as agriculture seed or fertilizer spreaders and sandblasters, or with equipment used for applying firefighting foams. GTA claims Elastol could help cut oil spill cleanup time by a factor of 10. Ease of application and containment would seem to bear that out. So the next time you step on a piece of gum, well, just remember what it can do to an oil slick.
People stop buying regular Pepsi, and almost 500,000 move to Diet Coke. That's more than to any other major soft drink. With smooth, satisfying, real cola taste, and just 1 calorie. One for the road. You can keep coming back for more, no matter who you are. Just want to taste of it. The move is on to Diet Coke. Diet Coke.
My Toyota.
Hi, interested in the Toyota Celica? It's beautiful, and it's an excellent value. And right now, the Celica GTS is available with a special extra value package of features, like air conditioning, AM/FM radio with cassette, and much more. At savings of up to $1,050, it's a great value. So you like it?
I love it.
Toyota's special option package makes the Celica a great buy.
Who could ask for anything more?
There's a tradition of generosity at great country inns. That's why now you get more of what you like in every Country Inn brand rice dish. More cheese in every Country Inn cheese dish. Taste the Swiss in our asparagus au gratin. Even more vegetables in our vegetable dishes. More broccoli in our broccoli almondine. Tasty, delicious. Bring home the generous taste of Country Inn. Now, more cheese, more vegetables.
Gives you salon style, salon.
Well, it's time to think about bed and hopefully a little rest. But for millions of Americans, having their partner soundly asleep next to them doesn't always mean a good night's sleep. Up to 1 in 3 middle-aged men is a chronic snorer. Now, that can put a lot of strain on a marriage, and in the worst cases, it can trigger hypertension, strokes, and heart disease. But very soon, snorers and their wives may get some relief. This little device is called a Snore No More. And as you guess, it's been designed to stop snoring. It's the brainchild of a dentist, and it works by regulating airflow through the nose instead of the mouth. It's made of new high-technology soft plastic, and it looks a lot like an athletic mouth guard. It's been shaped to fit you perfectly. A quick dip in hot water makes it pliable, and you can place it over your teeth and mold it to the shape of your gums. Tests have shown 80% of snorers can benefit from the Snore No More, but of course it won't work if your nose is blocked. Oh, and I can assure you it'll stop you from talking in your sleep as well. Well, that's all this week. Next on Beyond Tomorrow, fly with us on a sailboard that takes wave jumping into the sky. Microbes make a meal of soil pollutants and drive a new car powered by steam. So join us again next week as we journey beyond tomorrow.
Tomorrow night on Fox, you know Kelly Bundy is a free spirit, but when her principal forces her to take dance class, well, you won't believe the performance she gives at her recital. That's tomorrow night on Married with Children.